Osama bin Laden says, I did this. Me and my people did this. Right?
Well, no, he actually said, but yeah.
God.
But go ahead.
I mean, if I was able to make money on these, it's just completely every episode we're just why try?
Yes.
Why try?
I don't know if he said it like that.
I mean, yeah. It was close, right?
Like that. More.
I just want to throw out
more in it. You know what I'm saying?
Interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a special news bulletin from our partners in Twisted World.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a special news bulletin from Twisted World.
What's up, Twister World? We are back. I'm here with my boys, Andy and Cody. What's up, guys?
Yo, what's up?
What's up?
Hey, how was Thanksgiving for everyone?
It was great.
Yeah.
I am not a cook, but this year, with my parents being out of town, my brother is a cook, so I'm gonna act like I did it. But deep fried a turkey.
Yes.
It was great.
You deep fried a turkey?
Yes.
And
I did.
How did it taste?
Delicious.
Oh, good.
What kind of oil do you do that in, by the way? Is it like olive oil?
It's peanut oil.
Oh.
Or some places like to dumb it down and just call it turkey oil.
Oh.
I
Nice.
literally saw a box and I'm like, is this the stuff I need to get? But it ended up being peanut oil. They just named it.
What if someone
oil.
had a peanut allergy? I feel like that's like a...
Well, I think there's other oils you can use. Listen,
No, but I mean, like, if you're selling one that says turkey oil and you buy it and you have a peanut allergy and then you're like, oh, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I would assume,
someone would've
though,
told
that
me.
if you were going to buy oil to fry your turkey, that you would have an inkling that they usually do this in peanut oil.
Maybe
and so
you're
you
a
should probably
dummy.
check the box. I mean, listen,
Maybe you're a dummy.
day and age, it's very possible that you just killed yourself while frying a turkey.
Yeah.
Enjoyable.
I'd like to take credit for it, but I just did it at my house. So that's the credit I get. My brother did all the work, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. I enjoy pie.
What kind?
Pie is good. I like it all. That's the problem. Like that is
Well, no,
serious
but this is
problem.
the conspiracy. There's
Yeah.
only one good pie. That's not true. Let me back up.
Yeah,
There's multiple
there
good
was-
pies.
we get
There's only
real-
one
We're going
right
deep
pie,
now.
right?
Okay.
Like when you walk up and you've got a
monopiist.
slew of pies in front of you.
The one true pie.
You've got a slew of pies in front of you. You have to make a decision on what slice you're going to eat.
If that's all, if I had to pick
If you
one,
had to pick one slice.
and all the pies are warm, right? Because
What-
it does make a difference for me.
Not every pie has to be warm for it to be good, but I agree.
But you're asking me, like, if I walk up,
Listen,
right?
every pie is exactly what it would be if you were going to pick it and eat it the way you like it.
Cherry pie,
Cody?
warm cherry pie,
Wow.
Yeah.
Brings a tear to my eye.
like American pie.
Oh, my stop.
What?
Nothing.
Yeah,
Stop.
Cherry pie by Warrant. Anyway.
Age right there.
So
Just shown.
In this scenario, there's every pie.
Every pie that you can think of that you've ever had, and it's in the way sometimes some pies are warm, some pies are cold. I'm just saying, if you had the pie, if you had to go and pick a slice of all available pies on Thanksgiving, what pie are you eating?
Oh, on Thanksgiving?
Well, I mean, we're talking about Thanksgiving.
Okay, in
just passed.
general, apple pie. Apple pie is my go-to pie.
Okay.
On Thanksgiving, I wouldn't mind having some pumpkin pie.
Okay, I
Kind of cliche.
at all times
It's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
am a cherry pie guy. I just am.
I mean,
at
yes.
all times, and I like it hot. I'll even eat it cold, but I really like it hot. Like you warm it up and get it, or it's fresh out the oven.
And with some vanilla ice cream, it's just like a whole nother level at that point.
It is. I tend to agree with you, Cody, that on Thanksgiving it feels weird or wrong to not have a slice of pumpkin pie with whipped cream on it.
Exactly.
So in this scenario, I eat both, and I totally break the rules because I didn't allow you guys to have either. So
Yeah.
no, it was great. It was great. I'm actually we actually had both, so I got to have both.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a good day. It's a good day.
I hate cherries. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh wow,
Hate is a strong
gosh,
word.
They're gross. No, I wouldn't really hatred.
you've been programmed wrong.
Yeah.
There's probably a whole episode that
We
we should
got a
probably talk
conspiracy
about.
Maybe
that.
maybe the way your cherry tastes isn't the same my cherries taste, you know, because our taste buds are different.
Yeah.
So
right.
what you're tasting is totally different.
Well, that's
than what
because
I'm
I only
tasting.
had 12 vaccinations or by the time I was,
you had what?
an adult. You had 54.
I don't know. I just do what the government tells me to do.
Right. Yeah. So
that's for them to keep track of, not me.
You don't like things because there's no flavor in things anymore. You
don't even have to think about it, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
Just eat it. All right.
Well, and then it's, a whole nother level is like the Matrix and the steak thing. Are you really eating steak? Are you really eating cherry pie?
Right.
What's going on there?
I would love to get into that when we have some time.
No pills. It's just a cherry and pumpkin pie, and you have to choose one.
Well, no. I mean, it's the one scene where they're like, and they're eating that garbage, and they're like, well, when you were in the Matrix, you were being told what it tastes like.
Oh,
right. So they're telling your brain. So Cody's been reprogrammed clearly, and he thinks cherry pie tastes like
gross.
We need to get him over here on our side.
Need to unplug him. The red pill, bro. The red pill. Okay. Speaking of Matrix, new movie coming out.
All right. So what are we talking? What are we talking
about? Check us out. Twisted World fam. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to, last episode we touched on Epstein Island and why it was covered up. Why Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, as Cody had put it in that episode, his buddy Jeff,
my boy Jeff,
his boy Jeff, and why that took place, and possibly why he was killed or he committed suicide. Nobody
Oddly
knows.
enough, I haven't had dinner tonight, and I have a craving for pizza.
Yes, that's
I mean, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should probably go back to
you should probably listen to that episode and check it out.
I get it.
Yeah,
check it out.
Pizzagate.
Yeah, check it out, guys. So if you haven't gotten a chance, check it out. Let us know. Subscribe to Apple and Spotify, and you can give you the updates on every time we got a new episode. So we're gonna do something new and kind of crazy, a little wild. A lot of our fans had said that, one of our episodes in particular, I think it was episode 2, seemed a little scripted, and that
it
was in a sense. Yeah, we had a lot of content and we kind of flowed with it, but it was definitely had a scripted feel. So we're gonna do something crazy. This episode 5, unscripted, off the cuff. And we're going to talk about one of the biggest conspiracy theories that this nation still just a numerous conversations that take place over this conspiracy theory. 9/11.
So before we dig into this, I want to say something to kind of move forward.
Before we blow this up. That's how you know it's not
before
scripted.
I get run over by a bus that Cody or Aaron throw at me, I am the opposition. I do not believe that any of this is fake. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
So, but before we go into that, what I want to say is I like the concept of this type of episode where we just kind of off the cuff talk about everyday conspiracy. Now, these aren't everyday as far as things that are happening right now. These are things that we've talked about for years. Sometimes we'll talk about things. And so instead of it feeling like it's scripted, just so that people know, right before we hit record, instead of recording, we threw out some ideas. It was like, is the earth flat?
Right.
Did the moon landing happen?
Was Apollo 17 actually the last to the moon, or was Apollo 18 an actual event and there was aliens on the moon, and that's why NASA doesn't go back?
And the one that I would like to just throw out there, because at some point it will come up in another off the cuff unscripted podcast, is myths around the Holocaust. I do think that we need to visit. Listen, bro. I think we need to visit
way too far,
because
dude.
I have been railed on the topic of the Holocaust, and I have opinions on it.
Like Hanukkah's coming up. Like,
way
I don't know if we should even be.
Yeah, we're talking about 9/11.
We got
soon.
some candles.
Still too soon.
Way too soon, dude. Oh, you know, my grandfather died in the Holocaust. He fell off a guard tower.
Stop. Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
I'm extremely offended.
Listen, Cody's playing. But seriously, Hanukkah's a great celebration. I like to do it and Christmas, just so you guys know. So, I get multiple days of gifts. Make it happen.
Okay. Moving on. 9/11.
Here we are. One of the biggest conspiracy theories that still, after 20 years, is... you can Google it. You can check. There are so many people out there on both sides. You got the Andes that's 100% confident that it was everything that you saw it was, everything that you have read about. And then you've got other individuals who are on a complete opposite, that it's like some deep, deep stuff. And then you got, somebody like me who I'm going to sit here and I'm going to look at both sides, both angles. I'm not going to negate either. It's a sensitive and kind of touchy subject because it is our own country.
We're just talking about it. So at the end of the day,
that's it.
We're not taking this home as the Bible and believing everything that is being discussed today. We're all going to kind of argue and talk. I do think there's some really, concrete information out there.
Uh-huh.
Do I agree with it? No. And we'll get into that a little bit more. What I mean by that is that I think you're going to come at me with some numbers and I'm going to have counter arguments that may not necessarily go with the numbers, but let's just dig into it.
Okay. Well, let's start with like some of the biggest discussions around the buildings themselves. Okay. Start with the planes crashing into the building, right? Uh-huh. There is the conspiracy theories, of course, and there is even a pretty known architect engineer named Richard Gage and his organization, which is AE 9/11 Truth, made up of over 3,000 architects and engineers that to this day are still calling for the, quote unquote, real investigation of the 9/11 attacks because they believed that it was a inside job, and that demolition was actually set up, that it was a controlled demolition of the buildings. And they, Richard Gage constantly is preaching on the fact that when the planes hit, that the explosions wouldn't have been enough to take down these modern marvels, right? I mean, these two, the trade towers were built, as he puts it, extremely well. They were built to withstand earthquakes, tsunami. I mean, it's like, here you go. And let's back up a little bit. I mean, the trade towers held some very prominent financial companies throughout the trade towers. Right. So we want to keep that in mind as we discuss further, because some very big companies, and some even believe were having some financial struggles. So we'll touch on that in a minute. But he said that these towers were built very, very, very well architecturally. Again, a sense of a modern marvel. Okay, Popular Mechanics even listed them as some of the best built buildings in the nation. And so these planes crash into them high up, and they crumble like Legos under a 200-pound man's foot.
Yeah. Just impossible.
Shaking your head. How is it impossible?
Just impossible.
Tell me how it's impossible. Mind you, I just want to throw this out. Unscripted. Aaron has been Googling the entire time and reading from his phone. I've got my iPad. But Cody is just off the cuff. Like Cody is like, this is right up his alley. He's just staring at us.
I just wanted to get the names correct, because I don't want to quote some people's names.
We are not. This is not scripted. What we are doing is we're trying to find things that back up our way of thinking.
Stance,
which is that I'm right.
Yes. Cody, your stance. I mean, tell us. I know that we've talked a little bit.
I mean, maybe it's not impossible, but it's definitely probable to believe that there is. Oh, what you got something to say?
Well, listen. I don't want to hear his theory.
Aaron just asked me for my theory.
And I'm correcting the mistake.
Just asked me for my theory.
I am correcting the mistake that was made.
He's going to let you have your turn. He's going to let you have your turn.
I want to know about the buildings. Why is it impossible that the buildings fell the way they fell?
Why is it impossible that the buildings fell?
Yeah, go ahead. What did you say when he said impossible? You were saying the whole point is that the buildings fell in a way that it should have been impossible based on the architectural design.
Based on 3,000 architects and engineers, that the way that these planes hit, the height that they hit, that it would have, according to them, and this organization made up of, highly trained like licensed,
engineers,
degreed individuals.
Yeah.
There are 3,000 of them, not 3 of them.
Yeah.
3,000 of them that state that the way these planes hit, it would have been impossible to crumble the way that they both crumbled. Both of them. One would have been a feasibility, a probability, but for both to crumble that way, for both of them. Again, you remember we're talking about plausibility here and probability. So for it to happen, is it possible? Yes. But for both, the odds are,
actually, they would be higher because the reality is both buildings are identical. Right? Identical. So if one,
but they're not connected.
Identical though, if both were hit with planes individually.
And
so if the flaw was to happen on one, there's a good chance that the flaw could happen on the other.
Oh, well, I mean,
and we'll go back to the 3,000. We'll go back to 3,000. There's 120,000 architects in the United States. 3,000 is a very low number in comparison to the total number.
You just Googled that.
Heck yeah,
is that
heck yeah?
Hold on. That number, 120,000,
are licensed architects in the United States.
Wait, just today? Or is that 2001?
The argument of 3,000 is not that far off. It's from 2009. So we can go back. The numbers would be the same.
Would they?
Yeah.
All right. I'll take your word on that.
And that's fine. But that doesn't mean that, 120,000 architects and engineers are going to come forward on something like this either.
Correction. It was higher in 2009.
It was high. There's more.
145,000 death.
A lot
choosing other careers.
A lot of them got out when they realized that
9/11 was a farce.
Or that there were 3,000 people telling people that 9/11 didn't happen. I want to know.
I mean, it's there. It happened.
Again, we're not architects. None of us are.
Yeah.
But if the argument is that they fell wrong,
right?
What should we have expected to happen when the planes hit? What is the architects saying should have happened if this was an explosion?
That the top floors above may have caught on fire.
Yeah, but not.
But with the way that they fell was, again, as if they exploded from the bottom.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Many skyscrapers over the years have been built and taken down. And they're all taken down with controlled demolition, right? So if you watch them, and you can Google numerous buildings over time that have been built, and they tear them down to rebuild because you want new technology, you want new advancements, things like that. They cause explosions from the bottom, and it comes crushing down all the way down.
Correct.
That's exactly how they fell. They did not fall as if, a plane hit them and then they tumbled to the left or right.
If you watch, they fall from the top first and then come down. When you watch a demolition video, the bottom blows out. And then it all falls at the same time. If you watch the videos back, we just watched them. I was waiting for this. Just watched them. Now, honestly, how many of these other buildings that we're talking about have ever had a plane go into them?
Well, no, yeah, you're right. I mean, this is it's a very rare situation.
Rare?
Now, again,
I want one other scenario where a plane or 2 planes have flown into a building this size.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's happened.
There's not an architect in the world that can prepare for what's happened.
You're right, but again, we're discussing the potentials behind the conspiracy.
Yeah, we're talking about. I'm arguing against it.
So another thing is, you could set up C4 to detonate from the top down.
True, but the argument is that there was an explosion down below, what caused the building to fall. That was the argument.
That was what he was saying. So
okay,
that's what I'm saying.
The thing is. Yeah, normally in demolitions, you put C4 at the bottom, so it blows it up, and then you blow them up from the bottom to the top, so the top falls down a lot easier. But you could do it just backwards, where you could blow up the top and then slowly, detonate them one floor at a time, or every several floors, or however you want to do it. But it would still have the same result. But what he was saying is there's just no way the plane would fly into it, and then it would just cause each floor to just collapse, all at the same time like that. You know what I mean?
Well, it didn't happen all at once. Again, the plane hit and then it collapsed later.
Yeah.
Now,
but why?
Well, you've got a plane that crashed.
Right. But we're not, that's already happened. Yeah.
Right. But it didn't end there.
Right.
It got hot. Things happened.
It did. But did it melt the steel beams? Because
I don't know.
Because it can't.
Well,
That's
but
the
it can
problem.
it got hit though. You have to mind it can't melt normal steel beams, but those that are damaged can take a higher heat and resist. If they're cracked, you can break a pipe by heating it up. Once a flaw is introduced, that metal is therefore weaker. Honestly, I'm reading it right now. It's called the progressive collapse theory.
So
that once something has been bent or manipulated, that the actual metal isn't as strong or resistant as it was before.
Okay. So I mean, when it breaks like that, do you think that, or one of these beams that they break, do you think after that it'll just topple the rest of the building?
I think the weight of it absolutely.
Just one little beam just breaks it.
Yeah. I'm not saying one little beam. We had a plane. This is a plane. The wingspan alone was almost the width of the building. So we're talking hundreds of beams got broken.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, those beams were broken instantly with the plane hitting them for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that the architecture is what caused it to stay up for as long as it did. But I think once that floor collapsed from heat and the damage the stress that had been put on it, it toppled. Now, I heard one of the other arguments that I saw online is that people were saying that it should have fallen over. I don't think that's not how.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that 100% either. Again, these buildings are purposely designed, regardless of how they're hit.
Right, but what okay, so again, I'm the counter argument, but the argument there is that a plane comes in, it hits one side of the building.
Right.
All the beams on that side of the building have been damaged, therefore the top should have been
bent
basically
over.
like a Jenga set. It should have fallen over.
Uh-huh.
But again, the building was designed to stand, and there were beams that were able to hold the pressure for a significant amount of time. The explosion from the plane was lightweight, right? So it was aluminum and some other things that wasn't steel. A lot of those things could be why the building didn't go down immediately. And I think if it was a bigger, didn't one of them go all the way through?
No, you just
or
hear
was it just the explosion.
You just see the explosion from the other side.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
'cause maybe a plane didn't hit it at
all
all.
the way through. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
You disagree? You disagree to that?
I don't agree to the fact that this is all conspiracy. I want more facts.
Well,
that say that,
you know, it can be seen on both ends, right? It can be seen on yours that this is 100% feasible. It can be seen on the other end that it 100% could have and possibly been a controlled demolition.
Inside job.
So, but then we get into deeper why. If let's just hypothetically say, for the rare instance for all of our listeners, that Andy is wrong, the rare instance, you know, because he seems to claim he's never wrong, but let's just say he is for discussion point. Because I know there's a lot of people, a lot of people out there that definitely believe that there are, that this was an inside job for a few different reasons. There's the big one that is that the Bush administration would have done this because his father, George Bush Sr., during Desert Storm, Desert Strike, he was going after Saddam and trying to take him down. And, you know, we were definitely winning, and then we pulled out. With us pulling out, his son being this very prideful, "Oh, I'll get him for you, Dad," right? And the only way he was going to get us back into the Middle East was by setting up what seems to be a terrorist attack on our country. Because let me tell you again, and we mentioned this real briefly in episode 1, that when this happened, our country was on fire. Right? I mean, we were like, let's go get them, right, as a country. Now, Cody was like 2 months old or something like that. How old are you doing like that?
6.
Yeah. So he doesn't quite remember, but I'm sure, Andy, you remember how fired up our country was.
What's that? I think I was like a junior in high school.
Yeah, so you remember how fired up our country was.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like fired up. I mean, you had country stars releasing songs that the whole country was like, yes, let's go. I mean, you had Democrats and Republicans linking arms and holding each other like, yeah, our enemy is out there, which, hey, honestly, that was regardless if this was an agenda or not, it was kind of a cool time because Americans all stood together, undivided. We all had the same desire to attack. The only problem is,
maybe that's what we need nowadays. We need a new 9/11.
Don't stop. Oh,
wouldn't that be great though?
terrible.
I think that's just what we need right now.
terrible.
No, it sounds terrible, but in practice, I mean, the results seem to work. Just saying. Just pointing that out.
Oh, we should just end the episode right here.
Yeah, I mean,
That's rough.
So back to
Let's
segue.
Let's get off of this topic.
back to the fact that again, so a lot of people they're looking at the Bush administration stating that they set this up, that it was like, hey, trade towers fall, it was terrorist attacks, yada yada, and instantly pointing at Saddam and Iraq, right? Others think that it was potentially to control the oil in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia and Iraq, right? And because Saddam really had his looming powers over Saudi Arabia, and got to get him out of there so we can look like the big strong big brother, and then it became a money thing, right? Is this a feasible stance? I mean, it's far-fetched that our own president would attack our own country as a way to get us as a people to be okay with attacking and going to war. And by the way, that war lasted quite some time, and it bled over into Afghanistan. And
I think it was extended, right, with the Afghanistan. I mean, originally it was WMDs,
and then,
right, and going over there and dealing with Al Qaeda and
isn't that kind of what we talked about in episode 1 though, a little bit with that submarine stuff?
Yeah,
where we kind of like, there's the government faking
we
that stuff.
We set up a coup to
right
in order to start war.
Okay.
Right.
But the argument that I made in that was
interesting.
Listen,
something we've already all agreed that happened. Anyway, go ahead.
Did we agree?
Yeah. You want to watch episode 1?
The argument that I made back then is that a president would do something like this or authorize something like this because no president has ever been removed from office during a war. Okay. Now, mind you, Bush
did Bush run? Did Bush
2000?
He was already elected at that point.
The only thing, I'm again not believing into the 9/11 thing, but the thing that I could see is the hanging Chad thing was a thing, right? With Bush and the hanging Chad in Florida, and
you're gonna have to explain that. To me.
So the hanging Chad was this. We did these punch card kind of vote things down in Florida. That's how we voted for president and whatnot. Well,
you did in Florida?
No, I'm talking about people, United States, right?
Yeah, okay.
I wasn't old enough to vote, right?
Yeah,
but there was hanging Chads that potentially made it to where Al Gore had won, but it wasn't.
What are hanging Chads?
The way you voted, it wasn't digital.
Yeah.
It was a punch card. Like you basically took your pen and you popped a hole. A hanging Chad was they had popped it to where it was, if you read it a certain way, it showed one person was voted for. When they weren't voted for that way, they were voted for another way.
Where now it's a Scantron system.
It's basically Scantron instead of drawing, but you would punch the hole out. They changed that because, of course, this was an issue. But Al Gore basically contested the whole thing at the presidency, saying that he won because of that. Yeah. And the hanging Chad was this. It wasn't really a conspiracy, but that was the idea. Was the hanging Chad that was a cloud of thing.
I feel like there's something that with every election though.
There is, but the point,
the other side is sour about losing.
The point I'm trying to circle all this back on is that could be the only thing that I could think of, and there may be more. I was only 16 at the time, but that could be the only thing I could think of that he wanted that off of his back, right? And again, going to war, presidents. History has shown that presidents don't get removed from office.
The heat gets really taken off of them at that point.
So let me
put on the war.
Let me push the war thing and the agenda behind the potential like engaging of war and using the trade towers a little bit deeper. All right, you guys ready to go down this rabbit hole? Check this out.
Yep.
So there is an even deeper conspiracy that President Bush and the leader of Israel, right? So Israel has a lot of enemies on their borders, right? And so in order to, right, so check us out, in order to get America to engage some of these enemies over in the Middle East, they would have had to get the American people, of course, to get behind it, and Congress and everything else. So the leader of our country, the leader of the Israeli country, and here's the weird stuff that I'm just going to give you a little bit of weird information of why they believe this happened. Again, I'm not saying it did. I'm just saying that there's some stuff that did transpire. But anyways, so that they believe that it was Israeli government mounted the attacks to go to the U.S. into attacking its regional enemies. Responsibility that the actual responsibility lies with powerful Jewish elites who control world events from the shadows. Right. So check us out. But hold on, this is crazy. Of the 2071 victims of 9/11 who worked at the World Trade Center, 119 were confirmed to be Jewish. At least a further 72 were believed to be Jewish. Right.
There's a stereotype joke in there somewhere. Go ahead.
And so another, that there were, out of all the Jewish people that were killed in the attacks, because there were 4,000 Jewish employees of the World Trade Center, and all of the remaining that did not die were actually given advance notice to not show up for work.
Whoa. Saying what? Like, what was the advance notice? Why?
Because there
that's what we believe, or we just don't know what it said.
They did that. There was a number of Jewish, and again, could it be mass coincidence? 100%. There was a lot of people that did not show up for work, because there's other conspiracies that there were some businesses where some of the top officials of those businesses that were supposed to be at work that day were told to not come in, and those businesses were actually struggling, like bankruptcy potential and all of that. And when the trade started to collapse, they cash in on insurance. But it just so happens that some of the top execs that were supposed to be there that day, that were supposed to be at work for, meetings and things like that. In fact, I'm trying to find it, but one of them, I remember reading this whole thing about how one of them, the wife, thought her husband had died because he was going to the office, and then he ends up not dying. And then later she's talking to him, and he supposedly got a phone call on the way to work to not come in, right, of this particular business that, struggling, having its issues. Because remember, there was, some stock market jumps and things like that. And so, anyways, again, these are all just conspiracies. We don't know, right? But so here's this one about Jewish elites trying to goad the U.S. into attacking its enemies.
Which makes total sense. So what you're saying is that the Jews did 9/11.
Okay. So it's okay.
Bush and the Jews.
But okay, explain Osama bin Laden.
What about him?
They took credit for it. There's plenty of money.
Well, ISIS takes credit for anything bad.
Yeah, but there's money trails and stuff like that were found, right? That linked to him and the individuals that had come over on the plane.
So you actually think Osama bin Laden's dead?
Well, that's whatever.
Listen, who gave him and all his his people their weapons? By the way, I'm just curious. Let's not forget that we loaded them up a long time ago, and then we turn around and
still doing it.
Let's go get him. I'm just saying. But hey, that's another story for another day.
Explain it, though.
Explain what? Why he claimed it? I don't know, but somebody slipped him some money and said, "Hey, we need you to go and make this video and broadcast it across the world." And you claim this.
But they hate us.
Who hates us? The same people that loaded them up with money and guns?
I don't know. It's pretty hard to hate us at that point.
They hate us.
We're told they hate us.
Giga
brain stuff.
Giga brain.
No, I saw something. It's just a sidebar thing. I read somewhere that I guess during the attack, the plane tickets flew down. The plane tickets of the two people who hijacked the plane, just magically floated down after the plane had crashed into the hands of someone who worked for some sort of criminal investigation thing. And he was like, "Oh, I found these at the crash site on the day of 9/11.
So the terrorists,
that
hijacked the plane,
correct. Their plane ticket out the window or out the plane. I don't know how they're not eviscerated, but they just magically floated down at some point.
They tossed them out the window.
Yeah,
They're
and
like,
they were found
hey.
on the scene. You want to look it up and try to find it on there?
No, I mean, that sounds far-fetched. What do you do about that? But I mean, we know that there were people that were calling from the planes to talk to their families. So we know that there were hijackers, and we know that they were on the plane.
I don't necessarily believe that there weren't.
What would the point of that be to find? I think that's far-fetched, but what would the point of that be to find tickets on what was the agenda there? What would be the agenda there?
What, to have them linked?
Him finding these tickets. Who cares?
Well, you mean like so that they know who did it up there on the plane?
But they know who did it. Like, they were able to.
Do we know that? Like, do we know where these people are from? I mean, they could have been anybody.
Yeah, but that was the point. They tracked. I think they tracked all of them.
So let me ask you this.
6 to 8 people that they tracked back, and were able to find out.
Is it probable that there was actually anybody on that plane? I mean, maybe everybody that was supposed to be on the plane is now living in the Bahamas somewhere.
Flying it, so let's be real. Living in the Bahamas,
Yeah, I mean, I know there's accounts of
I
know there's accounts of people being in the plane who crashed in the field, but I don't know about the plane.
Yeah, no,
who was headed into the towers. I don't know anything about that plane.
I'm just trying to throw.
Yeah, that was the one where they tackled, or they basically. There's a movie about that one, the one that crashed in Pennsylvania. Yeah, where they took it down because they got together and decided it was going to happen.
So again, we know that 9/11, no matter what, it happened. The trade towers are gone. We know that a lot of people lost their lives. We know that a lot of firefighters, a lot of police officers went in at ground zero, lost their lives. A lot of heroes that day. But there's this massive question mark that exists out there. In fact, I know that there were some individuals that had talked to me about episode 1 because we just briefly we don't go into it or we don't do anything. We mentioned it real quick.
We mentioned it,
and it's crazy because I got a handful of people that are like, oh, I totally believe, and so you'd be surprised how many people really are on this kick. And again, could it be because of kooks like Richard Gage? Could it be that here's this guy, he's got a degree and he's a specialist in architecture and engineering, and he gets out there with his 3,000 buddies and they go, hey, this has never happened, and then everybody's like, yeah, you're right. Who knows? But I can't honestly sit back and say that it is 100% not feasible that controlled demolition didn't take place. I'm not going to sit back and say it's 100% not feasible that this is an inside job. I don't know. But I don't know that there is enough evidence on either side, right? And that's why we're talking about it, because it is a huge conspiracy in this country.
I think it takes more evidence to disprove it than to prove it.
But that's with anything, right?
Is it?
Kind of innocent until proven guilty type thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to work your way up the hill, and then
the point is a lot of what you're arguing has never been tested, right? I don't have to argue that a plane hitting the building the way it did falls down the way it does, because I don't have to look back at prior knowledge and say, oh, the building was built this way, that's why this is false, is because it would have never. You have no data to back that to say this is what would have happened. I have data, which is I watched 2 planes hit the building and it crashed the way it did.
Right.
That's my data. I have 2. You have none. So the point being is that there are more on the other side of things to try to disprove it, which I don't think that there's enough factual information there to give any kind of like validity to it.
Yeah.
Seems like that's my favorite word. I use it a
validity,
lot.
Yes. Yeah. I'd be really curious to know what our fans think. Like, honestly, and I know a lot of people, this is really one of those, I think this is one of those where people walk around with an inkling. They're like,
well, I think it's an uncomfortable conversation to have.
It's very,
right. Like we're struggling to pull things out of a hat, because I think generally there may be questions about this, but like I genuinely believe that this happened the way that it happened, and what we experienced. And it honestly was a terrible time for our country and the people that I was around. I mean, I remember being in the living room with my parents, right? In the morning, my brother woke us up after the first plane hit. And I remember it being very sombering. Regardless if it's fake or not, like it was, a lot of people died. And it was very sombering. So I think it's a tough conversation to have.
Well, and I think that's why Cody doesn't have the emotional attachment to it, because at that point in his life, he was still trying to figure out if his hand was real or not. So,
well, he was drinking his hot chocolate and,
yeah,
eating Swedish fish.
I was trying to figure out when the best time to go to the bathroom was.
Right.
Things like that.
The crucial things in life. So he doesn't necessarily have that connection where we did. We got to see it. We I remember my dad calling me, like, my next day was my 21st birthday, which I'm really upset because if this thing is 100% real, those terrorists totally ruined my 21st birthday. I just want you to know that. Like they totally kind of screwed me out of a solid celebration. But hey, you know what? Forgiveness, right? So, again, we watched this thing. It was a horrible, horrible thing. No matter what, a lot of people did lose their lives. No matter what you look at, no matter whether you truly believe it's a conspiracy theory or whether you truly stand on the point that it was a terrorist attack and then our country went to war, and so that's one other thing. As we are getting close to wrapping up, I just want to ask this one main thing. So Osama bin Laden says, I did this. Me and my people did this, right?
Well, no, he actually said, but
Oh, God.
But go ahead.
I mean, if I was able to make money on these, it's just completely every episode we're just, why try?
Yes.
Why try?
Oh,
I don't know if he said it like that.
I mean, it was close, right?
Something like that. More,
I just want to throw out
more in it. You know what I'm saying?
I just want to throw out one more question. One more big question. So, Osama bin Laden takes claim for the actions, right?
Right.
Why did we go to war against Saddam then?
Well, the argument there is that he funded and planned these attacks over a 10-year period, and that a lot of it was planned in Iran, Iraq, even parts of Europe, because that's where a lot of the money came from. Was he had family in Europe or wherever it was. I can't remember the exact place, but the point was that's where we believed the weapons of mass destruction existed, right? That there was potential for more terror. The idea was this was a war on terror. Okay. We were going to look for him. We didn't know where he was, which is why eventually we ended up going into where Al-Qaeda was, which was in Iraq. But I think that it was necessary
to go after Saddam first.
Well, no, I don't think that Saddam necessarily was the target. Now, the argument there is that all this was about Saddam. I don't think he was necessarily the target. We ended up finding him in a little hole, right? And
he was the initial target. We went into Iraq to go get him. If you remember correctly, Bush gets on the airways and he says, shock and awe. He tells Saddam he's coming for him. He tells Saddam and the Iraqi people, he tells Iraq, get out because I'm going to launch you. He puts a timer up and says, you have till this timer's done to be out. And then I'm launching full-fledged war on you. And Saddam, I'm coming for you. Like, he didn't say anything about Al-Qaeda. He didn't say anything about Osama. And that's one, again, I'm just saying this because that is one of the final pinnacle pieces of a lot of the conspiracy theorists of if Al-Qaeda was the responsibility factor, they admitted to it, and Osama did come out and say that it was me who engaged this, why was our number one right out the gate?
There was ties. It was all tied to Al-Qaeda. So we didn't just go after Osama bin Laden. Right, we didn't just go after Saddam Hussein. There is a long list of people that we went after. People that tops.
You're right. No,
right?
No. But all I'm talking
Saddam
about is
Osama.
Immediately the first action when President Bush got on the air, and he gives the shock and awe thing. He says, "Hey, I'm coming for you." Tells the Iraqi people to get out because I am going to pretty much annihilate your land, and I'm coming for Saddam.
Well, he was the dictator at the time over there, right? So his country, an act of a terror just happened. We now are setting out on a war against terror. We believed he had weapons of mass destruction through our intel. We believed that he was tied to Al-Qaeda. We didn't know any ties to Afghanistan, to my knowledge, at that point in time, because Afghanistan didn't happen until years later, right? When we believed that Osama or Al-Qaeda because at the time had fled into Afghanistan.
Again, I'm just what the theorists out there believe. Their stances, it seemed very much like a vendetta.
And maybe there's
directed.
Listen, if you
right at the man
if you believe the
believe
intel
that you wanted your dad should have taken out, and your dad couldn't. He wasn't allowed to.
I hear the conspiracy, but if you believe the intel that it came from there and that there was weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction living in there, then basically what you're saying is, I'd be pissed too. This is the dude that screwed my dad over. Oh, you're done.
Okay.
You just killed 3,000 people. That didn't even happen under my dad. Guess what? Your life's over. And he's a dictator.
I mean, it was kind of cool. The whole shock and awe thing was cool.
Dictator of that country, right? If we had a Russian attack on us, we would go after
Putin. You think so?
Well, no, probably not. No. Well, we would. It would be a World War III. But the reality is, no, we're too
We'd be
soft
sending
now.
emails like, Putin, what'd you do?
We would go on Twitter and talk about how ugly and bad he is. And
if you do that again,
what a bigot!
You better not.
That guy scares me, man. I'm just saying.
No, I'm using that as an example. Not talking about the size or whatever. I'm just saying we wouldn't go and say we're going to go find, like, even if someone in that country claimed it, we would probably try to resolve it. But at the end of the day, if it was being protected underneath the umbrella of Putin, it'd be an act of war.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a far fetch for someone to say there was a crisis in the 90s that didn't get resolved over there. We should have taken care of it. It didn't get taken care of.
Yeah.
Here we are again. Now we've been attacked, and you're housing the people that did this.
Well, and in the 90s, he really wasn't anybody. And by the time 9/11 happened, he was like the leader of the country.
Right.
That he forced himself into.
Now,
I totally get.
I think that where the conspiracy for me can come in is the wrapped around ideology of the weapons of mass destruction, right? They were never found.
Ever.
Does that mean the intel was wrong? It means that the intel was incorrect. I think that there could still have been intel, and that it was misleading. How you do that as the United States of America, I don't know. But again, I'm not close enough to that to make a judgment call on that. But I think that could be where the conspiracy is that we were fed incorrect information to respond the way that we responded. We would have responded this way regardless, but it would have been where we felt like Al-Qaeda was. Once additional intel was given of weapons of mass destruction, terror's already, they've now planned this attack. There is possible additional attacks coming.
Yeah.
We need to crush this like a grape.
Well, either way, great tragedy. Lots of
weird way to word that.
Was
phrasing.
Okay, let's rewind. Can we have a little bit more emotion?
Yeah, come on. Seriously? This happened only 20 years ago.
Maybe I should do the outro.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's go.
Well, I already gave my
it's off the cuff this time.
It's totally off the cuff.
I got an idea. Let's have Cody do it.
Cody can do the outro? Well, I mean, what are we at? What's our time right now?
Oh, we're
way over.
We're close?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it was a good conversation. I didn't actually, wasn't sure how this was going to go.
Yeah.
I'm totally offended by you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that we can do another episode after this one. But, give it a couple weeks. We'll see.
Yeah. Christmas is coming. Everybody loves gifts. So, Hanukkah too, by the way. I just want to throw that back out there.
We're going to get our audio. Our audio is going to be muted after Cody's statements and mimicking of a voice.
Yes.
Maybe I should tag this rather than tagging this what we tag it. I'll just tag it as comedy.
Yeah,
and see how that goes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Off the cuff, unscripted. Here we are.
I mean, he's just here to party. It is what it is. All right.
Yeah.
I'm actually closing it
out.
I
mean, listen, in our titles, it says co-host. So it's not just like Aaron.
Yeah. Just don't
the people want you.
Don't close this out in Arabic or whatever it is that supposedly was.
Dude, my uncomfortableness is rising.
You're killing us. No, seriously though.
So I think we had a really good conversation about it. I wish we could have more facts here for you guys and really get our stuff in line. But
we can do these from time to time. And we'll do them a little bit better. I like the off the cuff. I think it does make me uncomfortable. I'll tell you, there's a few times there where you can hear me stagger because I don't have the facts, and I like to have data and facts behind things. So it makes me uncomfortable to argue something that I believe in when I don't know all of it.
This one felt like a normal one to me. I felt just the same as I was doing all the other ones. But hey,
Twisted World fans, Cody loves you guys. Just so you guys know, he's crazy. He's young. Millennials, I'm sure you guys are out there cheering and you guys are, on the party wagon with him.
Yeah, but Cody's that guy that like shows up for school and he's like, oh, I got a midterm today.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, I'll wing it.
Like, I'll wing it. Like, oh, hey, I got a 10-page paper due tomorrow. Yeah, let's do it in 20 minutes.
A few hours.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's just good. Here I am with my like iPad and I'm like typing in, Saddam Hussein to try to pull up some credible information, struggling. And Cody's like, oh, this felt like a regular podcast.
And I'm just like, I'm like, yeah, the 9/11 didn't happen.
Yeah.
Anybody listening, I'm obviously memeing. I mean, please don't take anything
guys.
seriously.
We're spiraling.
Yeah. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I had a great time filming it with these guys, and we do enjoy making these. Please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe.
Please.
Yes.
And share with your friends. That's so important to share. And let us know what you want to see next time we do one of these off-the-cuff podcasts.
We're really looking for comments, right? I mean, at the end of the day, feedback's great, and we love all you that love us. But at the end of the day, we want to hear some comments, some topics.
I think it's a nail in the head. Yeah, let us know.
Yeah,
I mean, we're definitely going to do these from time to time. Let us know what you guys want us to shoot from the hip on. Whatever it is,
or what we're missing,
Yes,
and it's okay to tell these guys that they're wrong and that you agree with me. You can always tag me on all the Instagrams and Facebooks and TikTok, but let them know they're wrong.
So maybe Apollo 18 next, guys. Just saying.
I'm down.
Aliens aren't real.
Anyways.
You guys, this is ridiculous. All right. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
All right.
Peace out.
Twist the World fam. We love you. We're out.
We out.